Welcome back, Guardians. My name is Trams87. I wonder, has anyone ever asked you a question? What is the light and the dark? And on a further note, where do they come from? That question is very difficult to understand, that we would need to have been there the moment the light and dark played their games, moving from cosmos to ascended realms, chasing one another as if it were a game of cat and mouse. The darkness and the light are woven from the same science. Both of these entities existed and exist outside of our space-time continuum. But what does that mean? It means they are not of our world, nor our galaxy. They are paracausal entities who superseded or violate the common laws of life in the Sol system. Intrigued? Yes? Perhaps now you're asking yourself, what is paracausality? Now you're asking the right question. Paracausality is a category used to refer to abilities, events, or entities which seem to violate causality, the principle that all effects must have a preceding cause. It is also commonly referred to as magic. Here is a quote from the Book of Unveiling, titled Gardener and Winnower, and it reads, "Once upon a time, a gardener and a winnower lived together in a garden. It was once before a time, because time had not yet begun. We did not live, we existed as principles of ontological dynamics that emerged from mathematical structures as bodies and inevitable as the primes. It was the field of possibility that prefigured existence. According to the law book Unveiling, which is seemingly narrated by the darkness itself, both the light and the darkness have existed since before the start of time, and thus before the universe came into existence. Being unbound by the laws of causality, neither the light or darkness can be said to have a beginning. Rather, they are emergent properties of even more fundamental mathematical structures. That, in turn, underlays reality itself. In the allegorical story recounted in the law book, the darkness and light occupied themselves by engaging one another in a game, analogous to a vastly more complex version of the game of life, devised by Earth mathematician John Conway. This game would consistently arrive at an end state dominated by a single self-perpetuating pattern, which subsumed all others in the game. The darkness found this to be a pleasing outcome, but the light felt the pattern to be boring and desired that the game endlessly produce novel patterns instead. In order to promote this novelty, the light transformed itself into a new rule within the game. The darkness did the same to counteract the light's efforts. These new rules were set aside from the other rules of the game, so that they could not be limited or influenced by them, but could manipulate and other rules to bring about their intended outcomes. While the story above is laden with metaphor and open to interpretation, It appears to suggest that the universe is the game, which the light and darkness played in the garden. That the rules of the game are the laws of physics as they are commonly understood, and that the new rules that the light and darkness become are the basis of paracausality. This is interesting because we gain a small glimpse into the nature of the light and dark, as we have daytime and nighttime both share all the same zones, one more than the other. Have a listen to this lore entry from the Book of Unveiling, titled Patternfall, and it reads: "The patterns that escaped the garden landed in the water. Of course, there was no water at first. The patterns were abstract waves, tumbling through the fire of the early universe, trapped in chaos, cycling through desperate self-preservation tautologies, whilst vast beings from beyond the narrow dominion of cause and effect thrashed and battled around them. For an eon, they were nothing but screaming equation vermin, scurrying through the quantum foam, fleeing ultimate erasure. But they are tenacious. They propagated in the saline meltwater of comets orbiting the first stars. That broth of chemicals became their substitute, and they learned to catalyze impossible chemistry with quantum tricks. Then they rained from the sky into the steaming seas of fallow worlds, and there they built their first housings from geometry and Cilicia. In all their transformations, they retained the kernel of ultimate self-sufficiency that had made victors of the flower game. But they are not incontrovertibly destined to rule this cosmos. They are made before light and darkness, but the rules are different now, and even this pattern must adapt. They are not all mine, but in the way that admirers such as my man Oryx are mine, utterly devoted to the practice of my principle. But some of them have nonetheless found their way home. Before I leave you, here is my last thought. In my last video, we talked about the Ascendant Realm and what it is. And yes, I did promise not to spoil anything. So I'll ask you one final question instead. If the light and the dark are paracausal, and they flow in the impossible, and their source are two forms of light, does that mean that stasis has always been there, buried within the light? Yes, it's true, Guardians, when they say the light only burns for so long, but darkness is forever. However, you can cover up the light, even try to block it out, but the light will always shine through. That's going to be it for this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, please feel free to leave a like and also hit the subscribe button to find out when I upload brand new lore videos, and also the bell notification to be alerted. Thank you to everybody who has supported this channel and continues to watch all my videos. I really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying making these videos. I will admit, I do have my ups and downs certain days, but it's definitely worth it. Remember that no matter what you're going through, that you can do all things. Stay safe and Godspeed.